Welcome to the Configure Price Quote Podcast. My name is Sohn and I'm the founder of CPQ Consulting. This podcast is 100% focused on Configure Price Quote, also known as CPQ, and will provide you useful insights into this topic. My guest today is Vinay Toomu, founder and CEO of ScaleFluidly and CommerceCX. Both companies are based in Cary, North Carolina, and Vinay has over 20 years of business experience and was a previous guest on the CPQ podcast in 2019 and in 23. And I'm very happy to have him back. Welcome back to the CPQ podcast, Vinay.
Thank you, Frank. Thanks for having me, and appreciate all the contributions you do for the community. So greatly appreciate it.
Excellent. Very excited to have you back. It has been a while since our last conversation on the podcast, right? So how has ScaleFluidly evolved since we last spoke on the podcast in 23? What are the biggest changes?
Yeah, so it was fairly early on in our product evolution when we spoke a couple of years ago. And as you recall, we were a CPQ product. And over the last couple of years, with the advent of AI and in improving how we run our business, we've actually matured more into a full quote-to-order revenue orchestration system at this point, where there is a clear separation between the core engine, and then we have customer-built apps that we're able to build. So it's essentially evolved into a platform for revenue workflows. So it's not just a module anymore. So we're excited about our clients using it from the quote to order workflow, bridging the gap between a CRM and ERPs.
Excellent. And you are unique in that regard. To me, at least, you're a vendor and a system integrator, both at the same time, right? So, yeah. And I think that gives you a perspective that probably nobody else can provide. So how has that dual experience shaped your view of what customers really need from CPQ and revenue automation tools today?
So we've seen two sets of challenges in our services world that we've tried to get friction points to eliminate. Specifically around customers, we've seen poor adoption or partial adoption, and sales teams avoiding tools that are cumbersome to use with messy data, right? And then for the systems integration partners, we've generally seen CPQ generally breaks down at some point in time, and then customers end up over customization. And a lot of times the best practices that are brought into play, they generally fail in reality. So product decisions may have sometimes shaped by implementation pain, not necessarily the need for productivity, right? So what we've done is we've taken a lot of those friction points and we've tried to address them to make the platform and the application as invisible in the process for our customers. So we don't necessarily design for the demo, right? We're thinking ahead, and we're designing for like whatever the implementation is going to be in the third phase. So that really helps us look ahead. So we are able to slash the implementation timeframes, but also more importantly, drive predictability in the customer workflow.
Excellent. So very much appreciated by customers, I assume, right? So, but what I also wanted to ask you is at one point, so you started off as a system integrator more, right? So, and then I was wondering what really led to the decision to found ScaleFluidly. You just woke up one morning and said you have to build your own CPQ company. How did that come about?
Yeah, so we sort of fell into this more than anything else. We spent about 6+ years helping enterprises and SIs customize and implement solutions such as Conga and Salesforce CPQ. And what we've realized over time is CPQ solved like pricing, but not necessarily all the processes for enterprises, right? And then a lot of times you had for you to adapt it, you had to write a lot of custom logic. And we realized that implementation timeframes were increasing quite a bit. Programs were running for 2-3 years at a time, right? And then costs were going off the road. So we thought there has to be a better way to do it. And that's where we built a more of a composable core, where we saw situations with pricing. We introduced our pricing engine. Challenges with configurations, we put in our configuration engine. and tried to break down all of the as many friction points and challenges that customer face in the area. So the market kept fixing CPQ problem with services. And that seemed like a signal that there was something fundamental was missing. And that's where we said we should try this.
Excellent. And now to yourself, right? How do you keep yourself sane by running these two different companies so they have different DNAs, right? So you work in the same area, but it's still quite different. What do you do to keep everything straight there?
Sure. So I'm fortunate enough that CommerceCX is a very mature organization at this point, and then I have a set of leaders who run CommerceCX.
Hmm.
So even though I am the founder of the firm, I no longer run the majority aspects of the services business. I spend about 20% of my time more as a solutions and business architect when I'm working with clients so that I'm able to capture a lot of the use cases, right? Looking at outcomes, delivery, accountability, pain points. And then I use those and bring them back into the product that helps set up our product roadmap. And then we find layers that we can abstract that can help those specific outcomes, delivery, predictability, and so it's become very much like a validation loop. CommerceCX helps us be the get the validation of the product enhancements that we're putting in. And we actually put some KPIs and metrics we drive to say, if the services team spends 6 months doing something for an organization, can ScaleFluidly do it in 4 weeks,
Hmm.
right? And that those metrics have really helped us. And services has taught us empathy, working with our clients and our service partners. And then our product is helping us scale that empathy.
Excellent. And just to be clear to all our listeners, right? So the focus today is on Scale Fluidly, so the product company, really. But since you're running both, I was asking for both, right? So, but I think when we talked the last time on the podcast, you positioned Scale Fluidly as a unified commerce and CPQ platform. Is that how you would describe the solution today as well?
In a lot of ways, we've expanded to being more of a platform, a quote to order platform, and everything along the lines of a going from a configuration, pricing, quoting, contracting, and ordering, and then handing it nicely down to an ERP or a billing system is what we built on the platform, with users having the ability to make any changes they would like through configuration without involving developers. And then on the persona side, we have direct sales, partner sales, and e-commerce as the three large players that we are applying from a persona standpoint. So with the intent that we don't want we take a lot of the friction out of the ecosystem. So training and everything else has been super helpful, and adoption has increased greatly. So and wherever we find elements around customer experience, we see that as fair game for us to solve and then scale for customers.
Got it. Another thing that I saw also is that you're also, like many CPQ vendors these days, say you're low code, no code platform, right? So I wanted to understand what's behind that from your point of view for Scale Fluidly. Can you tell a little bit more, tell me a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. And what we've realized is, and we take inspiration from a lot of platforms that are out there. Salesforce is obviously a really good inspiration we take from. And we've recognized that giving the functionality and the capability to business users to make effective changes where they are able to utilize go to market really fast, or make price changes really fast, or make their catalog changes really fast, we recognize that has really helped them decrease the anxiety that they have to go through in whatever their cycles are, with the intent of not in needing to have developers in the process. So what we've done is, from a low code, no code platform, we've tried to get any functionality that is utilized by two or more of our clients. We actually build it into the product. And then anywhere else, if there's anything extraneous, that's when we get the low code aspect of it, where you have developers adding extensions to the product.
Excellent. And I know, so since you already mentioned the platform, right? So I was wondering what kind of applications are now customers building on top of Scale Fluidly? Beyond coding and contracting, I think, for example, you have project management, RFQ automation, and so on. Tell me a little bit more about that, please.
Yeah, it's interesting. As part of our deal cycle, we put an intent first around the quote to order aspects of it. But as we have more conversations with our clients, they recognize that we recognize that they have certain small scale issues going on somewhere else, where they generally deal with the RFQ process for tier one manufacturers that we work with. So we ended up introducing a RFQ portal and a RFQ platform where they can go through the engineering process to actually come up with costing and then get into the configuration and quoting, right? And then there have been odd situations as well where the platform is robust enough where as a no-code platform, anybody can create objects, fields, workflows, and such. So it's really anybody can technically build anything on the platform right now, but then we've tried to keep it in the lead to revenue space.
Makes sense. But one question that comes up in that context also then is how do you balance this low code flexibility, right, with maintaining governance and security for enterprise users?
Yeah, that's a great question. From the get-go, the platform that we've built, we've set up auditability as default, versioning by default, and then we have environment separation for our enterprise clients that we work with. But then for our SMB clients, we have a multi-tenant architecture that we implement them. And in addition to the most important thing that we put in over the last 12 months is role-based controls. And that really helps our clients get into be comfortable that folks are seeing and working with what they need to do. And on our end, from an organization standpoint, over the last 2 years, we've even gone through our own ISO 27001 certification and SOC 2 compliance that has helped us figure out what security means. And then that's something we've put in the product.
Excellent. Something that I see very often as a very early requirement from customers, right? So the ISO and also the SOC 2. But I think you're doing more innovations, right? Like recently you launched an AI-powered Chrome extension, I understand, that acts as a CRM assistant. So I was wondering, how does it work and what business problem does it really solve?
So over and over, I've heard the concept of swivel chairing, getting out of Salesforce or getting out of HubSpot, going to another application, coming back, generally being a challenge for sales users. So our intent is to meet people where they are. So a lot of enterprises especially use Salesforce as the CRM. So our AI browser-based Chrome extension is essentially a side panel that when you launch it, it gets the context of the Salesforce instance that you're working with. And then based on it, it cleanly works with you on anything related to your quoting, pricing, in context with whatever is going on with the Salesforce accounts. So instead of forcing people to go somewhere else, we've actually bought the intelligence on just right into your side panel. And that seems to be taking up quite well. Folks seem like it's helped adoption.
Excellent. So what are early users saying about it? Are you seeing higher adoption or productivity gains, or what do they see?
So first things first, we've seen adoption work really well, primarily because it's driving down the anxiety where users are sensing that this as pretty much a coexisting application within the CRM, and they're able to move back and forth within the CRM and quote CX, and that really helps them both in terms of driving down the anxiety on managing the account-related aspects, while at the same time helping them with their cycle times, resolving any pricing errors, and that's decreased the dependency on sales ops is what we've recognized over time, which sounded like, and the KPIs are actually quite phenomenal, and we think there's something going on over there.
Excellent. Since you mentioned the phenomenal KPIs, give me one or two examples of what you see.
So the amount of deals that actually go through the pipeline in terms of approvals and the configuration help folks need, that seems to be diminishing primarily because it's easy enough where you can have prompts where you need them versus clicks if you don't need them, right? And so salespeople don't need to know a whole lot of where each button and everything else is on the screen. They can talk to the browser assistant, but then once the screen pops up, they're only seeing what they need to do. So with a browser assistant, we actually have the ability to deliver custom screens based on what the user is looking for, built in real time. And so they're able to put focused effort in the work.
Excellent. And I'm already looking forward to seeing that when we do the briefing. So very, very cool. But you do more about that, right? So you're adding also AI agents. So talk to me about some real world scenarios where these agents are used by your customers.
Yeah, so like I was saying, right, anything around customer experience is fair game for us, right? So we've started invested in AI a little over 18 months ago and did a full tilt about 12 months ago. And some of the key areas where we're finding success is we have a customer health agent now, where it is actually able to look at signals from within your CRM and your quoting data, and then be able to give you intent signals specifically related to expansion opportunities. And that's helping salespeople look to say what customers are ripe for expansion. But then it also gives you some of customer scoring based on conversations that we're able to capture and summarize. And that is helping the agents figure out if there's a customer that they may lose in about 6 months and start doing something about it. So helping them with those actions. And then on the CPQ front, we put approval seems to be something that's gaining traction, where there are approvals folks generally need, but then if there are customer specific data related where a couple percentage points doesn't really make a big difference, then approvals are moving from approvals required to approval notifications to sales managers. So by giving them the context that this deal, they are looking for a 5% additional discount, but they've had X amount of business done with us today. So it's not a bad thing to move forward with that approval.
Are you evaluating CPQ solutions? The Novo CPQ briefing subscription gives you vendor-neutral briefs you can read in minutes. They are built for the early step of selection, moving from a long list to a focused shortlist of 5 to 10 vendors. Each brief explains capabilities, where it fits, and what to watch out for. No hype. Many subscribers pair the briefs with AI tools like ChatGPT or Gemini to search faster and compare options. If you want clarity before RFPs and demos start, learn more at novocpq.com/cpq-briefing-subscription. Shortlist faster. I have one more question concerning AI, and I see generally AI used in two places, right? So one is more on the admin side, the other one is more on the user side. I think on the user side is more interesting to increase revenue and stuff like this. Admin side is to reduce the cost by lowering them. Where do you see the biggest interest right now at this time on what side of this AI capabilities in CPQ?
So it's interesting. On the admin side, about 60% of our clients are enterprises. So for enterprises, a lot of the admin configuration pricing capability is coming up from a source system that we've integrated into. So there's not a lot of benefit in having AI doing specific rules or whatnot. There's a lot of things we are seeing on the user side where it's giving incremental performance benefits and driving down some points of friction for sales users. We're seeing a lot of excitement on there. Where we utilize is a third dimension where we are able to capture a lot of the use cases coming in from CommerceCX, and our team uses AI very extensively on the development side, and we are actually able to transform a lot of those things into the product at about a 4x rate today than we were even able to do 8 months ago. So we are able to get more into that no code zone as opposed to low code zone. That's where we've seen benefits from our end, Frank.
Excellent. Excellent. Now, you've also scaled with various companies, right? Smaller to bigger ones. I was wondering what's one of the lessons you could share here about scaling from smaller pilots to larger enterprise-grade deployments. What has worked the best for you?
So luckily, our experiences that we've had in the last 10 years across a broad swath of customers has really helped us understand. Even when we're talking about a pilot, it has helped us understand what's actually going to be in the product or what's actually coming a year from today for an enterprise. So anything that we've structured it in a way where we execute on these pilots or MVPs, so to speak. But then anything that's built against a North Star that come 9 months from today, if there's an expansion use case, or if you're looking at a scalability aspect in terms of the number of lines I have in my quote lines, right? Those are things we would have accounted for while we are putting the pilot in place. And that seems to be decreasing a lot of the anxiety. And then it's making our long-term more predictable at customer sites.
Excellent. And I think in general, so we mentioned that you lead both firms, right? So the CommerceCX is for 20%, right? So, but that's the implementation firm. ScaleFluidly is the software firm. I was wondering, these two work together, that's a given, but are you collaborating with any other system integrators for ScaleFluidly?
So we have an aggressive agenda this year to start working with systems integrators. We believe that systems integrators have a huge amount of knowledge in terms of how systems should work, CPQ systems should work, revenue workflow should work, right? And then our goal is to utilize that expertise while at the same time giving them an additional tool in their pocket that as they're evaluating additional CPQ vendors, they'll be able to evaluate us. So we are actually piloting this right now with CommerceCX and one other systems integrator, where we are using both of them as pilots for us to build our GTM go-to-market toolkit and a partner toolkit. So that as we build this up, then we'd love to take it to the systems integrators and give them means for them to generate more revenue for themselves while at the same time drive outcomes from their customers. So this is definitely in our plan for starting Q2 of 2026.
Excellent. So anyone who's listening and is interested to potentially discuss that with you, I guess then that means you're open to that. But you have lots of things that you do, right? So I know you travel a lot to India as well, especially over the last couple of months, right? Or last year, I should say, overseeing product development. What prompted that, right? So, and how does it impact your innovation pace right now when you travel that much back and forth?
Yeah, so I've been fortunate enough that I have a very strong leadership in the US and a very strong leadership back in India, taking care of a lot of the operational aspects of the organization. And about 4 years ago, we set up shop in our second location in India in a tier 2 city outside of Hyderabad. And we hired resources starting about 4 years ago that have matured really well. And the talent density is impressive, amazing to say the least. Our cycles of iteration have become really faster. Obviously, cost efficiency is there for sure, but then the cost aside, the innovation and the strong feedback loops that we've had both from between the US collaboration and our European collaboration along with India, it has really improved our ability to scale improvements into the product. I'm very thankful for that.
Excellent. Yeah, and I heard that from a couple of companies. That's why I was asking, right? But I think you also previously mentioned at potentially rebranding or unifying the company names. What's the rationale behind that? And is the goal to simplify your identity for customers and partners? Or tell me more about that, please.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Our ethos has changed quite a bit with a full pivot on the product side for me, right? So Scale Fluidly as it stands, it does look at CommerceCX more as a systems integration partner at this point,
Yeah.
even though it's a sister agency, right? So we are trying to get Scale Fluidly to a point where it can be its own thing, where CommerceCX is now delivering services, but we'd love to have more partners engage with us to often delivering Scale Fluidly outcomes to our customers. So definitely, they're both going in parallel right now. There's definitely a lot of divergence already happening on this front, and we're super excited in terms of the modern capabilities that we are able to provide with Scale Fluidly are being used by not just CommerceCX. We'd love to have other SIs involved in here so that we could scale the ecosystem.
Got it. Then let's look a little bit forward into the future, right? So, what major enhancements or launches can customers expect in the next 12 months from Scale Fluidly, as far as you can talk about it at this time, obviously?
Yeah, so we see more of a circular enablement that we're looking at. And the first part of the circle we're looking at is more around adoption. So our goal is to get adoption going. So that means enabling our partners, SIs, to inviting SIs to come work with us as we continue to scale the Scale Fluidly platform at enterprises. And we believe that'll get us more use cases, that we're able to bring in more features into the product as a second part. And that hopefully will drive some of the AI innovations that we want to put in, and then essentially be a circular feeding cycle is where we're looking at. So adoption and business development is going to help us on that front. But then getting more use cases and building that capability from a product standpoint, we believe is going to continue to help us scale. So priorities are in that way. Look at adoption, partnership with systems integrators, and then use cases that we are not activated yet, and then looking at what other AI features we should be able to have that will get our clients and our customers to ease both the adoption and increase their operational workflows.
And one follow-up question on this one. How much interest do you see from the customers really in having this? What I see very often is they have to have something in there. They don't really know exactly what and how it is supposed to work. I was just wondering what you see in that regard.
Yeah, and specifically in this situation, what we are seeing is a lot of customers are thinking linearly, where they want to understand, they think, when they think AI, it almost seems they're thinking workflows, automation. And that's where the sweet spot is today, where they just want to make life a little easier here, and here. So I believe there'll be a swath of agents doing these little things for them. But then I think true enablement of using AI native, is going to take at least 2 to 3 years, number one. Number two, what we are recognizing is AI sounds great, and it really works in specific use cases. But then by the time you start looking to get your enterprise use cases in play, it's starting to fall apart really fast, right? So folks are going back and saying, yeah, this thing is great. Maybe it does this one thing, but I do need to make sure that my business runs, right? And so there's a lot of back and forth happening, and I think that'll get calibrated over the next 12 to 24 months.
I'm pretty sure we will talk about AI and CPQ for a long time to come. I don't see any end to it. So let's stop it there. But one thing I wanted to, we could keep talking here forever, I guess, right? So, but think it might be interesting for some of the listeners to also learn where your team or you are at any industry events in the next 3 to 6 months so that they can see the solution for themselves and may also be able to ask any more questions to you. Is there anything that we should mention here?
Absolutely. Again, we are planning on, we're currently on our planning for marketing for the rest of the year. So our industry schedule should be out hopefully in the next few weeks. But a lot of the simplest way to look at us is on our website. We keep changing it very frequently on ScaleFluidly.ai. LinkedIn also a good place. We are trying very hard to put a lot of our learnings on LinkedIn that folks want to follow us. Myself, I try to put as many of my learnings out there, and then folks can obviously contact me, Vinay Toomu at ScaleFluidly.ai. I have my email across the board all the time, so those are some of the simplest ways to get all of us.
Excellent. Then, since we're already at the end of this time, let's stop the call. But thank you very much for making time for the CPQ podcast today, and talk again soon.
Yeah, I appreciate everything else, Frank. Thank you for continuing to keep these channels open to both help us, let us express ourselves, but at the same time, hope we are learning a lot from the podcast you're doing. So I appreciate you doing this. Thank you.
I'd like to thank everyone for listening and hope you learned something interesting today. If you like the podcast, please go ahead and rate it on iTunes or share it with your friends and colleagues. In the meantime, you can find us online at www.novocpq.com. So long, everyone.